Hello friends, it's Greg here again on the Blue Feather Ephemera channel. I have an eBay store by the same name where I sell vintage magazine print advertising, and each week I make one of these what sold videos to show you what went on in the store. First of all, I want to pause and I want to thank every one of you that reached out to wish me a happy Thanksgiving, and I hope you all had one too. This past week we had some fantastic sales. I'm really looking forward to showing you these. Let's get started. This advertisement here ran in True Magazine 1962. Now, this is 17 years after the end of World War II when radars were developed for military use. But now you've got police using radars to check speed, and then now you also have motorists using radar detectors to check for radars. And it says here specifically in the detail of the ad, it says that caution radar sentry is not an invitation to speed. It is designed to make drivers conscious of realistic speed limits established for safety. And so that's their little disclaimer right there, but we all know, what real life is like. $6.77 was the price I had on this. This gives me an opportunity to show you something that I've never been able to show you in my videos before. This is the difference on screen right here. This is the difference between using a 10% coupon at checkout. The buyer still sees your original price and they see the 10% off offer. But what they don't see is they don't see your original price marked out and the 10% applied, and they don't see the computed lower price actually on your listing. Now, in recent weeks, I've seen some other folks on YouTube saying that people who shop on eBay may favor this, or they may view it a little more favorably. They may be more responsive to this type of a sale where they see that price marked out. So I'm giving it a try. I'm not convinced I like it any better than the other way, but I did want to show you that. A couple of other things about this radar detector. I'm going to zoom in on the picture here. It's a small thing. It's battery powered, and it has a visor clip, and it also has a magnet for dashboard mounting. The company is Radatron Incorporated, based in North Tonawanda, New York. It's a small ad that measures 3 inches by 5.5. I sold it for $6.09, and it went to Georgia. Next up is a nice advertisement for a Magnavox hi-fi stereo system. It's a radio phonograph setup, and we'll zoom in on the picture here, and you can see the nice mid-century modern styling there with the gold grid front. And you can barely sort of see it here. It has a black cabinet, but it's got kind of gold marbling across the top of it there underneath that console bowl. What else you see in the picture here is just some couples attending a party and dancing and having a nice time, Chinese lanterns hanging in the background, and so on. Now, the person who purchased this sent me a photograph that I'm going to show you, but they have a stereo very similar to this. Before I move on and show you that, this ran in House and Garden Magazine 1957, and I sold it for $15.09. Now, this is the photograph that the customer sent me. It looks a little bit different. There may be an extra part of the console, maybe just housing an additional speaker for that stereo, arrangement, the stereo sound. And a lot of times when the speakers could be separated, they called them speaker end tables. And so by wire, it could be moved several feet or across the room from the rest of the setup. But anyway, very nice here with the black cabinet and the gold marbling on top and the silver grate on the front. The legs are a little bit different, but apart from that, it looks very similar. Again, $15.09. That advertisement went to Texas. This advertisement from 1965 ran in Better Homes and Gardens magazine, and it's by a company called Lee's Carpet. That company based in Bridgeport, Pennsylvania. That's key because that's where this ad went back to. I always love to see an ad going back to its hometown. This one did. In the detail here, basically it says, beware, sometimes the swatch is better than the carpet. And there's just an assurance here, a guarantee that when you see a Lee's swatch, it'll be the same quality carpet, the same plush pile, the same vibrant color when it's installed in your home as the swatch that you saw in the store. And this was another one that ran on the 10% sale. $11.49 sent this back to Pennsylvania. I also sold this advertisement for 10% off. It ran in Motor Trend magazine 1950, and the advertiser is California Bill. And what California Bill is peddling here is a Ford hot rod manual and a Chevy speed manual, because this is 1950. A lot of troops came back from World War II with a little money in their pocket. They had experience with machines and mechanical things, and they also had a little bit of an addiction to adrenaline that they needed to vent somehow, and so they started souping up cars, and that's what this is about. And Los Angeles, California, here where this address is, was kind of ground zero for the whole car fad and the hot rods situation. Now, those veterans passed it on to their children, and teenagers took it up in the mid 50s. And then you get shows like Happy Days on TV. But anyway, I sold this ad for $9.69, and it went to New York. This is an advertisement from the Quartermaster Review. This one ran in 1946, so this was just after the end of World War II. The advertiser is Kellogg's Corn Flakes. It shows a bowl of cereal in the picture. And interestingly, Kellogg's typically always says Battle Creek, but this one says of Battle Creek, Michigan, and Omaha. So Omaha's mentioned there. And I don't remember seeing that often before. Anyway, in the detail of the ad here, it just says that the troops appreciate the flavor of Kellogg's Corn Flakes because it reminds them of a back home breakfast, like pot liquors or greens to the men of the South, or as clam chowder and codfish cakes to the down Easters. And so, interesting ad right there. $15.09 sent this to Nevada to a repeat customer. Here's an interesting advertisement from Woman's Home Companion, 1942. The advertiser is Warner Brothers Studio. They've got a new movie coming out. Betty Davis is the leading lady, and Paul Heinried, I don't know that name, is the leading man, and I don't know that name. Claude Rains is also in the movie. Now, that's a name I know and an actor that I like to watch. I'm still looking for the first Betty Davis movie that I enjoy. Um, she was an icon, and she's well loved. So I know that there's got to be a good Betty Davis movie out there somewhere. If you've seen one, drop the title in comments and I'll give it a watch. This ad went to the United Kingdom for $15.09. Here is the second cereal ad of the week, and it's also the second celebrity endorsement in a row. We just had Betty Davis, and now we've got Don Hudson of the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers in the 40s and 50s. You talk about a powerhouse football situation. There it was. Now, he's given tips on taking a pass. He must be a wide receiver. They probably didn't even call them wide receivers back in the day. They call it, he was a pass snatching champion. Well, there you go. So, Wheaties is the breakfast of champions. That's our advertiser here, made by General Mills. I sold this ad for $16.89. It ran in the Open Road for Boys 1945, and it's going back to Wisconsin, the home of the Green Bay Packers. Okay, we'll have some fun for just a minute with this advertisement right here that ran in Playboy magazine 1984. And the advertiser is Minolta. They've got a beautiful X700 camera right here in the picture, but behind that, there's a critter back there that is a big cat. And I didn't know what to call it when I listed the ad. I didn't know if you would call it a panther, a black panther, a jaguar, a cougar, whatever. And so now that I've got to explain it a little bit in my What Sold video, I went down a rabbit hole that I could have lived in for weeks. Genus and species and range and melanation and all that kind of stuff. I'm just going to call this a highly melanated jaguar and leave it at that. $14.77 sent this ad to Georgia. Here's a nice advertisement from 1956 that ran in Better Homes and Gardens magazine. And in the detail of the listing here, the advertiser is a Moore Sun warm air furnace. And down here, this is produced by the Morrison Steel Products Company. And they've got features on this furnace that you can install in your home to heat your house. And it's got rolly doors, steel sectional overhead doors. That's a kind of a selling point of this thing. The company based in Buffalo, New York. That color there, that's a nice mid-century mint green color that was real popular back at the time. This is a half-page ad. I sold it for $12.77. It went to California. This is what I sort of consider a strange advertisement right here. There's not really anything visually to draw it to you. I mean, it has a picture of the product there in the very package that you'll see in the store for recognition. This says AC spark plugs, 8 of 12 wins at the 1971 Outboard Nationals. And, I think a catchy speedboat picture or something like that would maybe draw the potential customer's eye in, but they chose not to go that route. They just use all of this text here to tell you about. Let me zoom in a different way to tell you about all of the different wins here that people racked up using AC marine spark plugs in their boat engines. And that's really all there is to it. As a matter of fact, it is so dull looking that I used just a portion of the bottom of the page as the primary listing photograph here. This ran in Boating Magazine 1972, $12.77, sent it to Texas. This is a two-page advertisement here that ran in Saturday Evening Post 1958. And it's an advertisement for the company that makes heavy equipment called Caterpillar. And they're advertising their equipment that builds roads. And it talks about how a new highway transformed New Rochelle, New York. In the detail of the ad here, this is the mayor of the city who was also on the Notre Dame football team that was called the Four Horsemen. That will ring a bell with some sports-minded folks. But it says that this highway transformed the city. This is a businessman who says we were preparing to leave. We were planning to pull out of the city until the new highway brought new life to the city. It also brought this shopping complex, a new mall that created 5,000 new jobs, and it brought a lot of tax revenue into the city and all of that. So they're trying to convince city planners and other people like that to build using Caterpillar equipment. This ad sold for $21.77. It went to Connecticut. I chose the top of this advertisement right here as the thumbnail picture on the lead-in graphic and the thumbnail for this video, just because I think it's a pretty neat looking thing. It kind of looks like something out of Star Trek from the 1960s, and this may be where Star Trek got the idea to use a picture telephone. This is for AT&T 1967. It ran in Fortune magazine. In the detail of the ad here, they're talking about their commercial picture phone service that began in 1964. They had 3 different special calling centers set up in Washington, New York, and Chicago for business. And it said that Union Carbide, as of 1967, had used the picture phone service under actual business conditions. On over to the right, it says the ultimate aim, of course, is to make picture phone service as widely available and as easy to use as the telephone you have now in your office or home. And so uh, it's kind of funny that in 2020, Zoom calls, FaceTime was important to business, it was important to families, and it was important to students. I've also heard that the monopoly that Bell telephone systems enjoyed up until about 1970, when they split up the company into all of the Baby Bells, and then Sprint and MCI and other carriers were able to enter and compete, actually sped up some of the development of this technology. And if not for that, we may not still have that kind of stuff. You know, there's all kinds of discussion of that history, and some people might not agree with it. It's something I've heard, just passing that along. But anyway, an interesting advertisement here. $14.77 sent this to Oregon. All right, friends, that's it. That's the whole video. That's everything that sold. I'm not showing you just half of the stuff. I'm not making just a half a video. That's every bit of it. And I remember as I edited last week's video, we were 2 or 3 days into the sales for this week. And I remember telling you that it looked like it was going to be a slow week. Sure enough, that came to pass, but I'm not discouraged by that. And here's why. It's the week leading up to Thanksgiving. Everybody's busy, everybody's shopping, everybody's making plans or traveling. There's a lot of distractions from online shopping, so I'm not a bit worried about it. I'm still confident that I'm going to have a great fourth quarter and a good season of Christmas sales coming up. And I believe that if you'll come back and watch the next few videos, I hope that's what you'll see here. What you saw in this video was sales for the week of November the 20th to November the 26th. It's the 48th week of 2024. And this is the 45th in my series of what sold videos. I sold 12 ads for $166.28. I sold advertisements from 5 decades. The 1940s won out, though, on the average sales price. $15.69 was the average price of a 1940s ad. You can see the rest of them on the screen right there. So that's it. I appreciate you joining me and watching this video. I want to thank all of you for your continued support of the channel. And come back and join me again next week when we'll talk about something else. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more content like this, there's several simple ways that you can support the channel. First of all, hit the like button. It just takes a moment. Second, if you have friends that you think would enjoy the content, go down below and send them a link to the channel. Also, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you, even if it's just a friendly hello. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already, and turn on notifications. It's that simple. Thanks again for watching.